Chapter 171. Apology. As Sona's school held a class visiting event, it was impossible for Sarah Fall to miss such an event. After all, Sona was her precious little sister. However, as Sona's husband, it was also impossible for him to miss it either. So, even if they were quite awkward to each other, they went to the human world together. Frankly, the one who took the initiative to go together was Sarah Fall. Riser didn't do anything, and he just went to the station. But before he left, Sarah Fall suddenly appeared by his side, like she had anticipated his trip, joining him as if nothing. Yet, when they were inside the train, alone, together, the awkwardness was impossible to hide. Nevertheless, Riser was as calm as ever, reading his book quietly. However, Sarah Fall was different, as it was impossible for her to jump into him like before. The careless action, the intimate exchanges, and the happy laugh she shared with him were impossible to happen again as their relationship had changed due to her actions. Even if they couldn't sit together, like before, she sat on his opposite side, glancing at him from time to time. She also didn't hide his gaze as if she was waiting for him to notice. Yet, she underestimated him. He had completely ignored Sarah Fall, and the awkwardness was nothing compared to the death and life situation that he had encountered. All the guys that had fought with her would probably apologize, bowing their heads, giving up due to the beauty and the plumpness of Sarah Fall's thighs. Yet, even if Sarah Fall was indeed a beauty, Riser's heart wasn't unperturbed, especially when Misla and Ravel had helped him. Moreover, as a man, he needed to have a spine and know how to reject a woman instead of becoming a slave of desire. "Are you still angry?" Sarah Fall suddenly asked timidly, waiting for his answer, but he didn't say anything. "Riser, did you talk to me?" Riser looked up at Sarah Fall. "Sarah Fall, what did you say?" Sarah Fall pursed her lips and asked once again, "Are you still angry at me?" "Why should I get angry at you?" "That's because I stopped you." "Do you think I will get angry because of that?" "Then, you are not angry?" "I am not angry." "You are lying. You are clearly angry." Sarah Fall couldn't be fooled as she knew he was angry. "Why do you think so?" Riser asked calmly instead of refuting. Because it's weird. Usually, you would jump into me, hug me, kiss me, and call me One-chan. One-chan. Something like that. But you are now so cold. One-chan is almost freezing of your coldness." Riser stared at Sarah Fall, who was full of smiles as she anticipated something. Usually, in this situation, he would sigh and show a helpless expression before she hugged him tightly like before, but it was different now since her existence was quite a burden for him. Sarah Fall wasn't his wife, she was just his sister-in-law. Even though her presence helped him with many things, including making Falbium Asmodeus came during his promotion to the ultimate class devil, as if telling him even if he had joined the Great King faction, she still cared about him, and there was no way for her to abandon him. Yet, he knew no matter what, it was impossible for her to support him to defeat Surzek. Instead, if he really tried to fight Surzek, she would do her best to stop him even if she used her life. Frankly, among all the women he knew, everyone would do their best to please him, but only Sarah Fall was different. However, he also didn't feel surprised since she was older and different. What about Misla? Misla was different. She was by his side when he needed someone most. However, Sarah Fall was different, as her focus on life was something more significant than mere love. It was also due to this that she never married or had a relationship with anyone, even if many came to court her. Or rather, except for Surzek, none of the members of the four great Satans had married as they had a greater purpose other than their lower bodies. One-chan, we're a sibling-in-law. Do you think it is appropriate for us to do something like that? Due to that, Riser might as well stop having an illusion where he could sway Sarah Fall with feelings. Instead, he might as well focus on his ambition and purposes for the human world instead of facing Sarah Fall. Oh. Sarah Fall felt that her chest was so tight, as if it was crushed by something. She lowered her head so he wouldn't see her red eyes. It might be her wish for him to call her One-chan, but when she got it, she had never thought the word One-chan could appear so cold and distant. She knew that their relationship was no longer the same, and it was she who destroyed it. Yet, she knew she had to bear with it as she was probably going to disappoint him again. Riser-chan. What's wrong, One-chan? You might not know, but we're about to have a meeting with 3 factions. Meeting of 3 factions? You mean with the angels and fallen angels? Yes. Riser looked at Sarah Fall and asked, what's the meeting for? It was about the attack on Kokobeel and the others on Kuo Town previously. I see. Riser nodded. So, how are the fallen angels going to pay? He knew that no one knew he had conquered the Gregory, and he also wouldn't mention it to anyone as it was troublesome. Nevertheless, he wanted to see what Surzek and Serafal were going to do with Gregory after what they had done to him and the others previously. Serafal felt that she had lost her voice, but she forced herself to talk. They probably won't have to pay anything. Nevertheless, he was as calm as ever. Can I ask why? It's for peace. Peace. Yes, peace. Probably due to this, she gained her courage, but her tone betrayed her as she faltered from time to time. You should know that our race is in crisis due to low numbers after the Devil Civil War. We can't afford to have a war anymore. So, peace is necessary. There is no need for us to have a meaningless fight with the angels and the fallen angels. So, we need peace. Okay. His answer was simple, as if he had expected this. There was no rise in his tone or anger. He only appeared indifferent, as if he had completely given up. Still, Serafal was about to say something again, but she couldn't say anything. If you're worried about me messing up this meeting, then you don't need to worry since I won't mess up anything. You can have these 3 factions meeting in peace as I won't stop you, but don't force me to come or agree to your idea, as I definitely don't like this type of peace where you tolerate others, forgive them, sacrifice the other in the name of the big picture. So, I won't join you at this 3 factions meeting. Okay. This was his biggest concession. If she forced him, no one knew what he was going to do, as she knew she took advantage of her position as his sister-in-law to make him forgive the fallen angels. By then, no one talked, and he just continued to talk as if ignoring her, but Serafal couldn't hold it anymore. Riser-chan. Can you forgive Surzek-chan? You want me to forgive Surzek? Riser looked at Serafal curiously. Serafal nodded, and the words she kept started to overflow. There is no need for you to fight anymore, right? As long as you make peace with him, you can do anything. You won't be stopped by anyone, especially when you have the support of the Great King faction and the 4 Great Satans. Do anything? Even getting Graphia? Yet, he kept those words in his heart and only stared at Serafal in silence. Due to this stare, Serafal shut her mouth and didn't continue to talk. Probably, she thought that she had made him angry. But, sure. Serafal was surprised. Really? Yes, it's because you asked me that. Just kidding. How could he forgive Surzek? However, Riser thought about what Surzek had asked him previously and thought to have a slight mischief. As for his quest to defeat Surzek, he had his own plan for that. That's great. Watching Serafal's happy smile, Riser also said with a gentle smile, yes, but only if he apologizes. Oppo apologize? Serafal was dumbfounded. What? Is it something difficult? Riser was calm, yet he had this smirk as he thought about the past. I don't need him to apologize openly and in public like how the others asked me to apologize to him. I only ask him to apologize to me. Sincerely. Or he can't do that? Serafal didn't doubt that Riser hated Surzek so much. Chapter 172. You can do it. Class visit. It was an event where all the parents would come to the school where their children study and observe their studying process. Naturally, Kuo Academy was also a school. It also held such an event, and due to this, many parents came to this school to observe their children's studies. Nevertheless, Issei was in a complicated mood as he knew Riser was going to come. Before the class visit started, many things happened. Whether it was Azazel being one of his clients, the visit of Surzek to Kuyo due to the meeting of 3 factions, or, strangely enough, the talk he had with Surzek when they slept together. While Issei might have lost his battle to Riser previously and did nothing in the battle with Kokobile, Surzek still trusted him so much as Issei was the holder of the boosted gear. Moreover, if Surzek didn't use Issei, could he be called a devil? So, even if the relationship between Issei and Rias wasn't as close as in the original and Rias and the other women also didn't move to Issei's house, Surzek still chose to stay at Issei's house to talk about many things. When they slept, they talked about many things, especially about the potential of boosted gear. It was said that boosted gear could double the power of the user and the others as long as the body of the user and the others could bear it. Still, as Issei could transfer the power of boosted gear to the others, what would happen if he transferred that power into Riasbu *S? When that question was asked by Surzek, neither of them could sleep and stayed until dawn, discussing this serious problem. Nevertheless, the reason why Surzek came to Issei wasn't talking about Bu *S but another matter. Issei-kun, I have a high expectation of you. See Surzek-sama. Issei felt moved when Lucifer said those words to him. After all, as he had been reincarnated as a devil, he knew how low his position was. While Riser was high at the top, where people could only look up at him, his potion was at the bottom, where he could only lower his head when he faced Riser. Yet, how could he accept it? As for how Issei knew that he was the holder of boosted gear, his ego and personality were also affected by it, making him feel like a dragon, a proud being who looked down on others due to their superpower. Yet, Issei also knew, in reality, he wasn't even Riser's opponent, especially when he saw how Riser defeated Tannen, the Dragon King. At that time, something inside him shocked and almost shattered until Drake said, "Humph, a Dragon King is so disappointing." Issei felt surprised by Drake's arrogance, and it was still hard for him to accept it, especially when he wasn't that familiar with the myth of Drake. Moreover, when he saw the might of Tannen, he felt no matter how long he tried to train, it was impossible for him to achieve such a might. Issei-kun, are you still thinking about Riser? Ah, Surzek-sama. Issei was startled at how Surzek could see the deep in his heart, but he nodded. Moreover, among all Rias Peerage members, no one thought that he could defeat Riser, and all of them advised him not to provoke or fight Riser as it would bring him death. Yet, deep in his heart, how could he accept it? After all, while he didn't want to acknowledge it, he still wished for someone to believe in him and support him, thinking that he would be able to win against Riser. Yet, he didn't dare to say it out loud as he knew no one would believe in him. While Riser had shown his result to the world and even gained many things, which Issei could only dream of, Issei could only stay in his room, either watching porn or playing with his hands. You don't need to be that tense, and your reaction is normal since among all the Phenex house, Riser is exceptional. His might be even better than his ancestor. When Issei heard that, he wondered whether it was even possible for him to defeat Riser, but no matter how much better he is, you are better, Issei-kun. What do you mean, Surzek-sama? Issei was confused, and at the same time, his heart was beating so fast, as if he anticipated something. You are the holder of boosted gear, the Red Dragon Emperor, the Welsh Dragon. Surzek smiled and asked, however, do you know how strong the Welsh Dragon is? I am not. While Issei had courage, he didn't have a brain, which was fair. You know that God passed away, right? Do you know why God died? It was all due to sealing the Red Dragon Emperor and the White Dragon Emperor. While the Red Dragon Emperor was sealed inside the boosted gear, it resided within your body. In other words, you can be as strong as the Red Dragon Emperor. Your potential is even better than me, Ajuka, the four great Satans. No, how could that be? How could I be as strong as you, Surzek-sama? Unlike when facing Riser, Issei was so respectful and even licked Surzek so hard, especially when Surzek was the Lucifer and older brother of Rias, his master. Moreover, the thought of him becoming as powerful as Surzek had never crossed his mind, yet how could he not be happy when he received so much praise? Being a pervert and stupid, Issei hardly received praise from anyone, especially when Rias barely cared for him anymore, so his self-confidence and self-esteem were hit. Yet Surzek's words changed everything. Issei-kun, you need to believe in yourselves. If there is anyone who can defeat Riser, then you are that person. Gulp. Issei stared at Surzek, who still maintained that smile. Can I really? Yes, if you don't believe, you should ask Drake who resides on your body. Yes, partner. A phoenix might be powerful, but that's it. Compared to me, the heavenly dragon, it is nothing. That's why. You need to work harder, whether it is for Rias, your master, or the Gremory house, since you want to become a high-class devil and make a harem, right? Yes. The word harem quickly excited him, and he vowed to become stronger. Nevertheless, watching Issei's reaction, Surzek smiled kindly. So grow stronger, Issei-kun. I will, Surzek-sama. Still, due to this, Issei gained confidence, and even if Riser came to the Kuo Academy, he didn't fear, but nevertheless, he knew that he was still weak and he shouldn't provoke him until he grew stronger. Yes, he needed to train harder so he could become stronger. Issei-san, please don't do anything when you meet, Riser-sama, okay? Asia, who was in the same class as Issei, couldn't help but try to remind Issei so many times. Naturally, Rias reminded her that Riser was going to visit, and she knew she needed to watch over Issei so he wouldn't mess around. I know. Why you don't need to worry, Asia-chan. Watching Asia, who reminded him not to provoke Riser, Issei felt pain, but it also made him wish to grow even stronger. Still, instead of Issei, Asia was more worried about her friend. "Are you okay, Aika-chan?" "I am okay, Asia-chan." Aika smiled kindly, but it was impossible to hide the sadness on her face. Nevertheless, she knew Asia was a devil, especially after she had summoned her, and she also learned many things from her. Whether it was about the devils or the supernatural world, Asia didn't hide anything, telling the truth to Aika. It was also due to this that Aika felt relieved when she found out that Riser was so busy, but if possible, she wished to meet him. Nevertheless, facing two problems at the same time, Asia felt that her head was quite a headache, especially when she thought about Issei. While she knew it was quite rude, she didn't believe in Issei, and she hoped that Issei and Riser wouldn't meet each other. Yet, her wish was quite meaningless, especially when the familiar footstep was heard. The sound of the soles hitting against the tiles was heard. Moreover, the sound seemingly disappeared, and the light seemed to focus on a single point. It was as if, at that moment, this figure had become the center of the world. Asia and Aika, who happened to see him, were unable to say anything, so they forgot about Issei. As expected, when Issei saw him, he was unable to hold his emotion, especially when he saw how he didn't even put him in his eyes. Like before, in his eyes, he was just a pebble on the street. Yet, due to this, Issei was unable to hold his emotions. It was as if Asia could feel Issei's emotion and was about to stop him, but it was too late. Issei was about to say something, but the K***ling intent was pressed onto his body, causing him to feel like his entire body was frozen. Before Riser did anything, Seraphal made the first move. Chapter 173, Dejiza. Before Riser did anything, Seraphal made her move. Unlike the others, Seraphal didn't like Issei. Why? Wasn't it obvious? Seraphal felt that Issei was just a jumping clown, but even so, Surzek trusted this pervert so much. Frankly, she didn't understand. If she had to be honest, she felt that they might as well K***LL the Red Dragon Emperor and the White Dragon Emperor, as they had nothing but caused them trouble. Moreover, she could see that Issei was asking for trouble when Riser did nothing. Lastly, if this guy didn't exist, would Riser and Surzek fight each other? In other words, Issei was the source of trouble. Seraphal thought that she might as well K***LL Issei, so all the problems were solved, and it would be easier for Riser and Surzek to make up. Surzek aside, if it was the others, Seraphal didn't hesitate to K***LL them, especially those who had caused trouble to Riser. Even if Seraphal didn't focus her aura on Aika and Asia, the two felt the immense K***ling aura emitted from Seraphal's body. While Aika plopped to the ground as her legs gave up and her eyes widened in fear, Asia still held on as she didn't wish to see Issei dead. Asia wished to say something, begging, yet she was unable to let out her voice as her throat was choked by something, and except for standing while trembling like a newborn fawn, there was nothing she could do. "Anyone, please, please, save Issei-san." Asia knew that Issei might cause trouble, but even so, there was no way for her to let him die, especially when he was the one who had saved her. "Please, please, please." Seraphal. As expected, someone came and stopped her. Surzek-chan. Seraphal still maintained her smile and, like the act of K***ling which she had done previously, was nothing. Cough, cough, cough. Issei, who could breathe, coughed in pain as he breathed the air greedily. He wanted to look up, angry, panicked, afraid, annoyed. All of them were mixed together, yet there was no doubt what he felt the most at this moment was fear, as he knew he was almost dead. Nevertheless, he wanted to see the person who had beaten him, but before his head could rise, his head was pushed to the ground by Surzek. Not only Surzek, but Lord Gremory, Rias, Sona, and the others also came as Seraphal's aura was so intense. "I am not sure what made you angry at him, but can you forgive him, Seraphal? As you can see, he is regretting his actions. Seraphal Dano, we, the Gremory house, will do our best to educate our servant again, so can you give us a chance?" If it was Riser, Surzek might argue and even try to provoke, but Seraphal was different as she was his best friend. Moreover, with what would happen soon, if possible, he didn't want to fight, since if he made Seraphal into an enemy, would the peace he sought after be possible? Moreover, he knew Seraphal's personality well, and he knew it was hard for her to get angry, yet she got angry and even wished to K***LL Issei directly, so there must be something wrong with Issei. Meanwhile, while Lord Gremory didn't know what had happened, Surzek wished to protect Issei so he could follow up even if he might anger Seraphal. As for Rias, Sona, and the others, they didn't have a right to talk in this situation. Nevertheless, it was a good chance for Seraphol to complain, but she was stopped by Riser. Let's go, Wani-chan. But, let's go. Aren't we here to visit Sona? There is no need to waste your time with trash. Seraphol pouted and then stopped before she followed Riser while greeting Sona with a cheerful smile. Sona-chan. She jumped into Sona and hugged her tightly as she wished to recover from her bad mood. Usually, Sona would push Seraphol away, but this time, she didn't do anything and asked quietly. Are you okay, Wani-sama? I am good now, dear. Sona looked at Riser, wanting to hear an answer. It's okay. It's just the usual. The usual. Even though Riser didn't clearly explain, everyone could tell what Issei did. At this moment, whether it was Rias or the others, they could only feel that this guy was really an idiot. Still, there were a few people who were staring at him longingly, yet as expected, he ignored them. Yet, Issei, who coughed hard, heard Riser's words and couldn't help but get angry. Trash? Who was the trash? Hey, you grilled. Before Issei finished his words, he was slapped harshly by Asia. Asia-chan. Issei looked at Asia in disbelief. Nevertheless, Asia didn't regret her action and looked at Issei in tears before she lowered her head and apologized. Please forgive his rudeness, Riser-sama. Not only Issei but the others were startled by Asia's action as they had never thought this gentle girl would do such violence. After all, she was the embodiment of kindness, and for her to do such a thing was definitely out of the ordinary. Yet, no one blamed her, and Rias even wanted to praise her. Nevertheless, Riser turned and stared at Issei. This brought another tension to everyone as they didn't know what he planned to do. If Riser had just ignored Issei like before, they would have felt relief, but he stopped and stared at Issei. Even if he didn't say anything, their hearts were beating so fast that they were unable to move, like they were facing an animal from a higher food chain, and they were just his prey. Even Kiba, who had made a promise to protect Issei, was unable to move a single of his muscles. Still, while Lord Gremory was nervous, Surzek was prepared to move as he knew Riser definitely wasn't an opponent that he could take on lightly. Nevertheless, as Riser's target, Issei was unable to say anything, and he could feel as if death was in front of him. At this moment, he wondered why he always forgot this feeling and kept provoking him. But, chuckle. Riser chuckled. Everyone was at a loss for a moment. You know, as you are a Red Dragon Emperor, I thought that you were an idiot like the White Dragon Emperor, who provoked me even though you knew the gap between our power and status. In other words, it was impossible for Issei to reach his level, yet did anyone argue? No. The reality was like this. Riser was above everyone, and his power was at the same level as that of Mouse. Even if Issei had the potential, Riser could crush him like an ant at this moment. However, it seems you are smarter than him. Riser smiled kindly. So do your best to act like an honest puppy in front of me, since if you ever provoke me, no one can save you. Are you ignoring me, Riser? Surzek asked while frowning. Oh, I am not. But can you protect this idiot for 24 hours, 7 days a week, and 366 days a year? If not, then I will K*LL him. Not only him, but I will K*LL his parents, families, and all the people he cares about, so don't test me. Everyone fell into silence, and they knew Riser would really do it as long as Issei provoked him again. Issei was shocked and could feel his body drenched in sweat, yet at the same time, a flame of rage burst out from his heart, since if Riser really dared to do that, then Issei-kun, go and apologize. Surzek suddenly said. Wah. Don't make me repeat myself. Surzek just wanted to have 3 factions meeting in peace and no more troubles. Moreover, as Riser said, he couldn't protect Issei and his family and the others forever. He thought that this might be a good lesson for Issei, telling him that the weak didn't have the right. Issei looked around, trying to search for support, but no one came to help him, and everyone fell into silence. He felt he was betrayed, but at the same time, he was also scared as he knew no one could help him, so there was only one thing that he could do. Issei ground his teeth as he clenched his fists tightly, and they almost bled. I am sorry. Yet. Not enough. Riser. Surzek wanted to say something, but Riser cut Surzek's words. I don't hear any sincerity from him. Then, suddenly, Riser thought of something and said, I have heard that there is a good tradition in this country. What is the name again? Oh, right, Dejiza. Yeah, I have heard this is how the people in this country sincerely apologize, so do that, and I will forgive you. due to Jiza. Issei was shocked as the unwillingness and hatred in his heart were blazing even hotter. Issei-kun, do it. What? Issei looked at Surzek in shock, yet when he saw Surzeka's coldness, he didn't dare to fight and could only follow Surzeka's words with extreme unwillingness. It took some time, but he groveled on the dirty ground unwillingly, putting on his head as if he had lost his soul. I am sorry, Riser-sama. It was his first time receiving such humiliation, and his heart was almost crushed due to it. Nevertheless, Riser lost his interest and didn't bother him again. Let's go. This time, no one said anything and just left following him since they felt relief as everything ended just like this. Yet, when Issei was about to stand up as he was unable to hold his temper, getting angry at everyone who had betrayed him, but Surzek said, remember this feeling well as in this side of the world, the weak have no right, so get stronger Issei-kun. Or else, even I can't protect you. At that moment, Issei was unable to hold anymore, so he cried. Yes. Issei swore. He swore that he was going to become stronger so he could wash away this humiliation. Chapter 174. Zenovia is a good servant. Meeting with Issei might create a particular event, but it didn't interrupt the class visit as it was completed without any troubles. While his meeting with Issei caused a huge commotion, Rias and Sona made a barrier so no civilians would be involved and would move away. Nevertheless, they would be lying if they weren't nervous. Frankly, Rias should have scolded Issei, but as Surzek looked at her, she didn't do anything and decided to leave everything to her brother. While it might be her imagination, she felt that her older brother tried to make her relationship with Issei closer. No, it should be impossible, right? Rias never thought of Issei that way. While before he might have moved her heart, she realized that it was just a momentary interest as she knew her heart was only for him. She hoped that Surzek and Riser would be in peace and wouldn't fight each other. But could they? As she thought about such a problem, she couldn't help but sigh, wondering what she should do. However, Rias wasn't the only one who felt conflicted. Sona was the same. After the class visit, Riser didn't go back to the underworld and stayed with Sona, spending an entire night with her, doing something that a married couple usually did that night. Frankly, this didn't trouble her that much. Instead, something else troubled her, yet facing her husband's aggressive assault, she could only cry lewdly. Her strict and cool appearance was no longer seen. All one could see from her was the appearance of a vulgar animal. Moreover, it had been a while since he did it with his wife, especially after his promotion to the ultimate class devil, as it made him busy, and there was also a matter of tannin, which kept him busy. Nevertheless, he had to say his wife gave him a different feeling. Even though many things happened between them, he had to say her body had this special feeling that made her different from others. Frankly, if Misla was the most comfortable and Ravel was the most compatible with, then Sona was quite plain. Yet, this plainness was the one that made her unique among the others. It was also due to this that he didn't increase the size of her bust anymore as it would change her flat chest charm. Riser had many women, and many of them had big breasts, so having some variety was necessary. Still, due to a problem during the day, he was quite rough on her as his emotions hadn't calmed down. Nevertheless, as they had their fun, some more eavesdropped on what they were doing. Zenovia, I think this is bad. Tsubaki was uneasy when she thought that she had listened to what her master did with her husband. While Sona was kind, she knew how strict her master was. Moreover, she owed Sona so much, especially when Sona was the person who had given her a home when everyone wished to make her disappear. So, how could she do something so rude? If Zenovia wasn't so impudent and cheeky, saying that she wanted to eavesdrop and peek at what Riser did with Sona, how could Tsubaki decide to follow her? Instead, she might as well stay on her bed, but she had to say her master's voice was so loud. Frankly, her body was quite restless and hardly calmed down when she heard Sona's lewd scream. But at the same time, she felt Riser was too violent, right? Yet. Sona seemed to enjoy it, so it should be, okay? Nevertheless, it made her wonder whether it was as good as it seemed. After all, due to her secret hobby, she was quite curious about this certain activity. Still, as for why the two were here, it was all because the two of them moved into Sona's house. Sona was worried about Zenovia as she was a foreigner, so Zenovia might not get used to living in this country and cause a mess. After all, if Zenovia made a mess, it would throw mud on the face of the Citri house and Riser, as Zenovia was his lover, too. It was also due to this reason that Zenovia was living in Sona's house. Nevertheless, Tsubaki was worried about the two, so she also decided to move in with Zenovia, which Sona greatly appreciated. Moreover, Zenovia was still new, so there were many things that she needed to watch out for example, Sona's cooking. Still, Tsubaki was glad to follow as she knew Zenovia was going to cause trouble. It's okay. I am his lover too. If they know us, they won't get angry. Zenovia was confident, trying to reassure Tsubaki. Well, that's true. While Tsubaki was speechless, she knew Zenovia was Riser's lover, who was given permission by Sona for the first time. Still, more importantly, it was quite hard to get angry at Zenovia, especially when everyone knew even if this girl appeared wild, Zenovia was rather idiotic. In the worst case, we need to handle him together. Zenovia's expression suddenly became solemn. Oh, how could you say something so shameless? Tsubaki was unable to calm down when she heard Zenovia's words, and her face blushed, flushed and red due to the embarrassment and heat that subconsciously gathered within her face and then spread over all parts of her body. Well, if you don't want to, he won't attack you, though? Or do you have someone you like, Tsubaki-senpai? Zenovia asked curiously. I don't have such a person. Tsubaki hurriedly shook her head embarrassedly. Then, isn't that good? Let's do it together. You won't feel regret. Zenovia believed as long as Tsubaki tasted it for the first time, it was impossible for Tsubaki not to enjoy it and even become addicted to Riser. Still, while she knew she wasn't that smart, she had a unique insight on the battlefield. Frankly, as a lover position, it was impossible for her to join into her master's bed impudently, interrupting the moment of wife and husband, but considering Riser's physical capability, she felt that it would be tough for Sona to handle her husband alone. As a good servant, Zenovia felt that she needed to help her master. Nevertheless, she knew her kindness might seem unnecessary in the eyes of her master, and she might cause unwanted trouble, especially when she was alone. It was due to this she needed a reliable ally. It was like how she fought the malevolent being during her time as an exorcist. While she had previously fought those malevolents alone, it was a hard battle, and it wouldn't be weird of her to return with injuries all over her body. However, that changed when she was partnered up with Irina Shido. When the two were together, they could face many dangerous beings without fear and won easily. This was the same case. Zenovia knew the might of Phoenix wasn't something she, a former exorcist, could handle alone. Sona, her master, who was also the heir of the Citri clan, should have had a hard time taking care of Riser's needs in that area. In that case, as a good servant and a lover, she felt that she needed to help them. Is it really feels good? Tsubaki asked embarrassingly as she looked at Zenovia with curiosity and eagerness. It is otherworldly. Moreover, when she thought about how he visited her class and watched her from the back as she studied, she truly felt that she was glad that she had become his lover and fallen for him. Lastly, while she knew it might be dirty of her, she wanted him to stay in the human world most of the time instead of staying in the underworld, as it would be hard for her to meet him due to the difference in location. It was due to this that Zenovia was going to make him wish to stay in the human world. How? She was going to make a harem for him in the human world. Her target was her friends, who were members of Sona's peerage members. That way, Zenovia's breathing became rough as she thought that Riser was going to pamper her. It was due to this that she was going to seduce Tsubaki into his harem. Then when she's taken down, it's time for the others. Zenovia worked hard as a good servant and a lover. Nevertheless, Riser, who was still busy with Sona, could hear their conversation clearly due to his enhanced senses after he ate the Tori Tori Nomi model, Phoenix. Yet, what could he do except feel speechless? Still, when many things happened at Sona's house in the human world, Surzek and Serafal met each other as they started their first confrontation for the first time. Chapter 175. Everything is your goddamn fault. When Riser stayed in the human world, Surzek and Serafal returned to the underworld. As for Lord Gremory, he read the mood and left first, leaving the two alone. Nevertheless, while Surzek might feel uneasy about leaving Riser in the human world due to the threat Riser had said previously to Issei, he knew that Riser wasn't the type that would break his promise. Even though they were enemies, Riser was upright. Still, if Riser identified someone as his enemy, he wouldn't show mercy, especially at that time when he was going to K*LL him for real. If Serafal didn't stop Riser, then Surzek knew he might die. Surzek might be a powerful being. If he fought for real, it wouldn't have been impossible for him to reach the top 10 in the world. Yet, Riser wasn't weak, and Surzek was also unprepared. Even if Surzek wasn't dead if he was attacked by Riser, he was going to have to pay a heavy price. As for Riser, while Riser, at the time, was full of injuries and could fall anytime, What if that was just his guise? After all, Riser was from the Phenex house and was famous for his immorality. As long as he didn't wish to die, he wouldn't die. Even Surzek erased Riser's existence clearly from the world. Riser wouldn't die unless he had given up and died. Yet, Surzek couldn't imagine how Riser would give up, especially when he knew how stubborn Riser was. While it was ironic, as an enemy, Surzek should be one of the people who knew Riser the most. Still, the matter of Riser aside, as Surzek knew in Riser's eyes, Issei was nothing but a bug that could K*LL anytime, so he didn't need to worry about Riser doing something to Issei. He was quite dissatisfied with Serafall. Serafall, why did you wish to K*LL Issei? His tone was full of questioning, and he felt that his friend had changed somehow due to her meeting with Riser. No, it's you who is weird, Surzek-chan. Why did you wish to protect him? Do you think it is right for him to be rude and impudent to Riser-chan and me? Serafall was also dissatisfied as Surzek was going to protect Issei. Was their friendship meaningless? If it was Issei, was it okay for him to be rude to the others as long as he wanted to? Don't be joking. If so, then what was the point of maintaining the aristocratic society in the underworld? Whether she or Riser were of higher rank of devils. She was Malleviathan and Riser, the ultimate class devil. With their status, if a low-class devil dared to mock them, where would their faces be? Surzek knew that Serafall was truly angry, and he knew talking more than this would cause her to snap, so he knew he needed to back down slightly, apologizing and amending her relationship with Issei so there wouldn't be any hatred between them. Nevertheless, when the women were angry, they were unreasonable. Surzek-chan, what's the point of having him? Isn't it easy to clean him up, including the White Dragon Emperor? Without the two heavenly dragons, wouldn't the world become much more peaceful? Without the Red Dragon Emperor and the White Dragon Emperor, Serafall felt the world would be much more peaceful. Or rather, without the sacred gear created by God, Serafall felt that everything would be okay. Yet, no, whether it is the Red Dragon Emperor or the White Dragon Emperor, they are necessary. Surzek looked at Serafall gently and said, everything is for the peace. Please believe in me. Moreover, they are just children. Why don't you give them a chance? They might be a little naughty, but we can still teach them. As for the White Dragon Emperor, I am sure that Azazel can control him. Serafall didn't say anything and just stared at Surzek. She wasn't stupid, and she knew what Surzek planned to do with the Red Dragon Emperor and the White Dragon Emperor, yet this also made her helpless since she also knew the benefit that came from taming the two legendary Longinus users. No, even if it was just one of them, it would still boost their power. Yet, do you think he can become powerful? Serafall asked in doubt. He is. Surzek nodded without hesitation. Moreover, I can feel the kindness in his heart. He might be rough and perverted, but I can trust him and believe he can become even stronger. If you are worried about Riser, then you don't need to worry since, unlike Riser, I believe that Issei is kind and won't do anything harmful to him. Moreover, with his IQ, do you think that Issei can do something to Riser? Frankly, the thought of Riser losing to Issei never crossed Serafall's mind. Still, she just didn't like it when someone dared to mock Riser, as he was the man who had. No, more than this, it wasn't good as she knew it was impossible, especially when she couldn't support him. Still, Serafall wondered how Surzek could trust Issei so much since she couldn't see so much potential in such a weakling. Nevertheless, Surzek was different as he still believed in Issei's potential, especially when he read the record of how God died to seal the two heavenly dragons. Having Issei definitely would bring a benefit to his family. Nevertheless, watching Serafall, who started to sway, Surzek knew that Issei was okay. Frankly, while he acknowledged that Riser was powerful, Riser had a great weakness. Overconfidence. Surzek thought that this was Riser's weakness, and when Riser stayed where he was, Issei was going to defeat him fairly and just in front of everyone. By then. More importantly, how is Riser's response toward the peace of the three factions? Is he going to reject this proposal? Surzek asked as he wanted to avoid trouble arising when a meeting of three factions was later held in Kuo Town. Still, his tone seemed to anticipate that Riser would cause trouble. No, he agrees, and he won't do anything to destroy this meeting. He supports this peace within the three factions. Serafall was glad that Riser could let go of his hatred, especially toward the fallen angels, so she felt that she needed to make the fallen angels compensation to Riser as she felt it would be unfair if Riser didn't receive anything after what he had done. Is that so? While Surzek was glad, he also felt quite disappointed as he didn't have a chance to attack Riser. While it might be impossible to attack him directly, if Riser rejected this peace, he should be able to attack Riser indirectly. Yet that chance is nowhere to be seen right now. Nevertheless, as a devil, his life was going to be long, and there should be many chances to attack Riser in the future, especially after Issei grew up. By the way, I have talked with Riser that he can make peace with you. Oh? Really? Surzek was genuinely surprised when he heard Serafal's words. He then smiled and nodded. That's good, eh? But he asked you to apologize. What? Surzek frowned. He didn't ask you to apologize in public like you did before. He only asked you to sincerely apologize for what you had done in front of him. That's all. Serafal started to become excited. It isn't bad, right? So, how about you? Serafal, enough. Serafal stopped as she could tell Surzek's demeanor had changed. Let me stay alone. There was no explanation, but Serafal could only sigh and murmur. Why were you so stubborn? Weren't you the one who said that it was good to have peace? Then, why didn't you apologize? Serafal wanted to curse her best friend for the first time, but she decided to leave as she knew she had touched his nerve and more than this would break their relationship, which was something that she didn't wish to do. Yet, Surzek looked at Serafal and felt conflicted, realizing his best friend had changed. As expected, he's dangerous. Surzek thought that his best friend had changed due to her relationship with Riser, so he felt he needed to do something, yet he knew he couldn't move by himself and needed to let the others move. Surzek looked at the distance with a lonely expression, yet determined. I can give you time, so grow stronger, Issei-kun. As long as Issei grew stronger, everything would be okay, Surzek thought inside his heart. Nevertheless, even if Riser knew that Surzek had put all of his bet into Issei, he didn't care as much as he had something that he needed to do. Warm sunshine, a relaxed atmosphere, and beautiful architecture filled with the culture of the country. Riser took off his sunglasses and suit as it was a little hot, but then, not only the heat, which he felt as he also had a headache. Yet, he wasn't surprised. Why? It was because he came to the Vatican. Chapter 176, Am I the protagonist? His purpose in coming to Italy wasn't to visit the Vatican, but since he had come so far away, and it might take a while for him to come to visit again, he decided to come to the Vatican, where the headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church was located. It was also the hometown of Zenobia and Asia. Even though he knew it was dangerous, with his area of invisibility, light-resistant, and holy-resistant, he should be okay. Frankly, stepping into the Vatican itself was nothing but committing suicide for the devil, especially when this entire country was surrounded by a holy barrier. Nevertheless, with his area of invisibility, it was easy for him to enter as no one would notice his presence even if he was inside the Vatican. As he ate his gelato, he walked around the Vatican like a tourist. He didn't tell anyone about his trip, including his wife, and only said that he was going to visit the East Yukai faction. With how close his relationship with the East Yukai faction was, no one doubted him, but when he came to Tokyo, he told Nurerihion to prepare a flight ticket to Italy, and on the next day, he had already gone to visit the Vatican. So, what was he doing here? Was he going to take revenge for Zenobia? After all, the church had abandoned her, telling her to leave as she had known the truth about the death of God. Was he going to conquer heaven like what he did to the Gregory? When he thought about the power of Gregory, he felt that it didn't seem that hard to conquer heaven. Nevertheless, none of those things he mentioned above was his purpose to come to Italy. He had a certain goal to come to Italy, but before completing his goal, he decided to visit the Vatican, the most terrible place for all the devils. Frankly, when he thought of Aquino's shrine, that place was just a child's play compared to the Vatican. While it gave him a slight headache when he entered Aquino's shrine somehow, he wanted to vomit the moment he entered the Vatican. The gelato on his hands also felt like shit, and he had an urge to destroy everything in this place. He knew that it might seem too much as this was a holy place for all the people who believed in the Christian, but he was a devil. Even if he had a holy resistance, he had to say it was hard to get rid of the feeling of disgust and loathing that came from all the holy-related things. Still, to destroy this place and the entire Italy, he might only need a few minutes or even less. Riser had grown so strong that it was impossible for anyone to ignore him again. After all, depending on the situation, it wouldn't be weird for him to enter the top 10 strongest in the world. Moreover, if Michael was only as strong as Azazel, conquering heaven seemed to be a child's play. Frankly, when he thought about all of this, he wondered why Surzek and Dajuka had never thought of conquering the Gregory and the heaven. After all, as long as they combined their power, all three factions should fall into the hands of the devil, yet they didn't do that and just stayed, feeling satisfied with the status quo until the protagonist was born. Still, he thought of leaving already, as his purpose for visiting the Vatican was just curiosity. As for why Sirzek and Dajuka had never thought to conquer the others, he felt that it was a waste of time to think about those matters. We're lucky. What's wrong? The Saintess is here. What? Hurry up. Let's go. Otherwise, we won't be able to see her. All of a sudden, everyone became excited, and they hurriedly moved in a certain direction. Saint. He looked at everyone who was running into St. Peter's Basilica, the greatest of all churches of Christendom. If the saint was inside that church, he wouldn't bother to enter, as entering the church would make him unable to hold on. But since the saint was outside, talking with the believers, he decided to see who this saintess was. As the crowd gathered, he didn't immediately come forward excitedly like others, but observed from a distance as he watched many pray piously in front of the saintess. Meanwhile, the saintess greeted everyone kindly as she talked about something that should be coming from the Bible, especially when he had the urge to vomit once again, but he held it as he thought that this saintess was gorgeous. The saintess wore the modest and reserved clothing of the saint, yet it was impossible to hide her beauty. Or rather, she might be one of the most beautiful women that he had ever seen. With curly blonde hair and a demure atmosphere, she made everyone in this place pray and prostrate, giving their everything to the Lord. Yet, unlike them, as a devil, he thought that this woman had a lewd body, and there was this urge to taint her into the color of darkness. But suddenly, he had an intense headache, and he was unable to hold his vomit. However, when he was about to leave, at that moment, his eyes met the saintess. His thoughts stopped, and he quickly realized that she wasn't a human. However, he left directly as he really couldn't hold on anymore, and he directly left the Vatican. When he left the city, he vomited directly near the alley, throwing out all the things that he had eaten. Taking a breath, he felt so comfortable as the air was so pleasant. His chest was no longer stuffy, and he felt that everything was fresh. However, as he had left the Vatican, he realized that even without God, everyone was okay, and life went on. Still, are you okay? He, who squatted on the ground, looked up and saw the saintess, who was worshipped by so many people, appearing behind him as she looked at him worriedly. Here, use this handkerchief to wipe your mouth. She took out her handkerchief without hesitation. No, it will dirty your handkerchief. It's okay. You don't need to worry. She showed a gentle smile, but his decision didn't change since it felt shameful when he thought the woman wiped his lips during his hesitation. Yet, she did it. Even with his refusal, she wiped his dirty mouth without showing disgust, gently, sincerely. Thanks. He could only thank her due to this, but he had to say it made him embarrassed. Nevertheless, her answer startled him. It's okay, Riser Phenex Kuan. You know me. Riser looked at the saintess in doubt. With your current popularity, especially after you had defeated Kokobel, the White Dragon Emperor, Azazel, and even Tannen, there is no way for anyone to ignore your existence. The saintess still maintained her gentle smile as she exposed his identity. Who are you? Riser knew this saintess definitely wasn't a nobody, especially when she dared to approach him even knowing his identity, but he didn't expect her identity to be so outrageous. Suddenly, 6 pairs of angel wings spread from her back, and a halo appeared on the top of her head, enhancing her holy-like aura and making her appearance appear even more ethereal. As expected, she wasn't a human, but I am one of the 4 great seraphs. Gabriel. Riser. Chapter 177. You dare to approach me? Riser sometimes wondered whether he was the protagonist, as he had met many troubles the moment he decided to do something. No, he felt like fate was trying to stop him, as it wished to make the existence of the real protagonist, or the one chosen by the Creator, become a dazzling existence favored by everyone. Meanwhile, as Riser wasn't that person, he could only let himself be beaten and became the stepping stone for the protagonist. Nevertheless, Riser knew he needed to handle the situation in front of him. Why did you follow me? Why can't I follow you? Riser looked at Gabriel, who looked at him naively and curiously. It seemed that she didn't have any wariness at what kind of dangerous beast he was and just followed him like it was normal. While the peace of the 3 factions was inevitable, especially when the news about God's passing away should be heard by other pantheons, the peace hadn't been concluded. Even if he did nothing, he believed that in every corner of this world, there should be many angels, devils, and fallen angels who fought each other. Still, the fight should be mostly angels against devils and fallen angels, as the fallen angels had been conquered by him. Even though Riser knew many of the fallen angels couldn't accept his rule, In front of overwhelming power, they could only cower to save their lives. If they made Riser come once again, could they save their lives? Even if they didn't care about their lives, what about the lives of their lovers, children, families, and comrades? This had become a dilemma for them, as they could only accept his rule, gaining peace, even if they might become his slaves, or fight, gaining freedom, but with the price of all of them might die. In the end, facing such consequences, they could only become his slaves. If there was something that made the fallen angels feel relief, it was all due to the fact that Riser really did nothing after that, and he didn't even come to the Gremory as if he had forgotten their existence. While they felt complex, they really hoped for Riser to forget about them, and while they knew it might be hard, they hoped for him to conquer their comrades in heaven so they wouldn't feel miserable alone. Or they hoped for Riser to be defeated or K** led by Surzek. But such a chance, was it even possible? After all, Riser couldn't die. If you are worried that I might do something, then you don't need to. My purpose in coming to Italy is due to curiosity about the side of heaven and the church since we are about to have a meeting. I have met the fallen angel, but I don't know much about the angels, so I decided to visit the Vatican and make a trip to Italy. Moreover, you are not my opponent, so you might as well leave so you won't be hurt. This was the truth, as Riser didn't think Gabriel could be his opponent, and he was sure that Gabriel also understood this. But, are you going to hurt me? Gabriel asked. No, if you are not provoking me. I don't like meaningless fights, after all. As long as no one provoked him, Riser wouldn't do anything. However, the world wouldn't work that way as they often attacked him with various things. Nevertheless, her answer made him lose his rhythm as she was just too pure. Then, I won't provoke you, but can I follow you? You want to follow me? Gabriel nodded naively. Why? Because, like you, I am curious. Curious. You were the first devil who dared to step into the Vatican brazenly while eating gelato, after all, so I am curious about you. Riser. Moreover, if you don't plan something bad, you shouldn't mind if I follow you, right? After all, you won't do anything bad. Gabriel showed a kind and gentle smile as she said those words. I might not do something bad to others, but I might do something bad to you. Nevertheless, Riser didn't say that and only sighed helplessly. Just do whatever you want. Frankly, he was quite lonely to do this trip alone, and he would be lying if he didn't feel curious about an angel. Zenobia was just an ace exorcist, so there were many things that she didn't know as she wasn't someone with a high position, considering how young she was. However, Gabriel was different as she was one of the 4 great seraphims created by God from the Bible. There was no doubt many things could be learned from her, especially when she was born at the beginning of the world. Still, was it his imagination that this seraph was quite crafty? Thanks. Gabriel's smile became even brighter, but then she asked, so, what are you doing after this? After all, he told him his purpose for visiting the Vatican was just out of curiosity, so after he was satisfied, what was he going to do? I won't go back to Italy for a while, so I thought to take a trip around Italy. Riser looked at Gabriel and asked, you are one of the seraphims and also the saintess. Is it okay for you to follow me like this? Given her identity, shouldn't she be extremely busy? There shouldn't be a time for her to follow him on this trip, right? It should be okay. Even without me, everything will be okay. Riser looked at Gabriel, who said those words with ease. Did she indirectly tell him about the matter of God, who had passed away? Nevertheless, even if God passed away, life would continue. No, they needed to continue to live even if they had many doubts about the future. The way Gabriel said those words, it was as if she truly believed that even if she passed away, everything would be okay. Riser wondered whether Gabriel had prepared to give up her life when she followed him. He knew that except for the underworld and all the devils, who were fascinated by his strength and charisma, the others, especially from the opposite or the enemies of the devils, were trembling due to his might. The image he gave everyone was extremely aggressive, like a hungry beast that would hunt anyone it saw to satiate his lust for blood. Knowing that she wasn't his opponent, she still came toward him, ready to sacrifice her life. Facing such a woman, Riser felt conflicted, but he could only say that it was as expected of an angel, the one known for being selfless. Still, Riser knew that someone like Gabriel was rare. No, she was like an endangered species. However, it had nothing to do with him since he knew their interaction would end the moment he left Italy. As he walked outside of the city, she also followed him quietly. Then, when there were no people, he took out a Mercedes-Benz G-Class from his dimensional storage and rode on it. Still, Gabriel fell silent and didn't do anything, only staring at him. What are you doing? Come in. Is that okay? Aren't you going to follow me? His words were like a provocation, but Gabriel only smiled. Thank you. She went to the passenger seat without hesitation, sitting by his side. She might be an angel, but that didn't mean she didn't know the development of technology from humans. Nevertheless, as an angel, she had never felt greedy, living frugally, so as long as she had enough, then she was okay, so the thought of using a car had never crossed her mind. In other words, Riser took Gabriel's first time. It's my first time. Is that so? Please be gentle, okay? No. Gabriel. By then, two people, an angel and a devil, started their trip around Italy, but suddenly Gabriel told him to stop. Wait a moment. What's wrong? Riser was confused, but then he saw Gabriel walk out of the car and approach an old lady from a distance. Are you okay? Let me help you. Ah, I am sorry, young lady. The old lady was touched by Gabriel's kindness. Are you going somewhere? I am planning to go home. As the two talked to each other, Riser decided to ignore them, but Riser, can you help too? With a gentle smile on her face, Gabriel asked him gently. Riser. Chapter 178. Tourist. Riser wondered whether Gabriel forgot that he was a devil. While he didn't mind helping someone, they needed to give a certain price for his help. Everything was an equivalent exchange, but facing her stare, he felt that it would take too much time to argue, so he decided to help her helplessly while wondering how someone could be so kind. In the end, the old lady joined them on this trip until she arrived at her home. I am sorry for troubling you on your date. Date? Gabriel looked at the old lady in surprise, then looked at Riser in doubt. Is this a date? Of course not. Riser rolled his eyes. Naturally, this wasn't a date, especially when her purpose was just to monitor him in case he might do something dangerous to Heaven, or she just wanted to follow him due to curiosity. Either way, he had never thought of this trip as a date. Ah, is that so? I am sorry for my misunderstanding, but you two are suited to each other, so I can't help but think of you as a lover. The old lady apologized and maintained a polite attitude, as she could tell that they weren't ordinary people due to the aura exuded from their bodies. After all, she was nothing but a poor old lady, but then again, were they fighting each other? While she was curious, she didn't ask this question. Still, the old lady thought that Riser was so handsome. Nevertheless, Gabriel suddenly looked at Riser as she thought of a certain word from the old lady. Lover. Fortunately, the village where the lady lived wasn't that far, so they quickly arrived at their destination. Thank you very much. This might not be much, but please accept them. Apple. Yes, they are tasty. It might not be much, but please accept them as you helped me. Even if Gabriel tried to refuse, she couldn't, especially when the old lady had insisted on giving the apples. Still, to show they were delicious, the old lady washed the apple with water, then ate it directly, telling Gabriel that the apples were cultivated by the community and it was the best in this area. The two talked with each other, but Riser didn't join as it was wasting his time talking with this old lady, especially since he didn't think he would meet her again. Nevertheless, he realized being a devil was amazing as he instantly understood the Italian language. Sorry for giving you trouble? When Gabriel returned, she apologized to him as she knew she had given him trouble, especially when she asked him to follow her selfish wish to help the old lady. It's okay. How about we continue the trip? Gabriel nodded, but then she took out an apple in her hand and asked, Do you want an apple? They are delicious. I will eat it later since I am driving. Riser indirectly rejected her kindness. Gabriel thought for a moment and suddenly thought of an idea. How about I feed you? Open your mouth. Riser glanced at Gabriel, who offered him the apple, then glanced at her hand. Her hand was white and smooth without any blemishes. It was a perfect hand with slender and beautiful fingers. Riser didn't have a hand fetish, but then he wanted to test something. He slowed down the car and opened his mouth, biting part of the apple as he lightly licked Gabriel's fingers like it was an accident. Then, the sweet, juicy juice came out from the apple as he chewed the apple in his mouth in surprise. It's not bad. Was it due to the apple itself or Gabriel's fingers? He could only say that it was both, as having a beautiful woman to feed him was definitely a great thing. Riser licked his lips but then noticed Gabriel was staring at her hand. What's wrong? Nothing. Gabriel wasn't sure, but she felt that her heart was beating so fast at this moment, yet strangely enough, she felt eager to feed him again. How about more? Sure. Riser suddenly felt a certain guilt born from his hurt since he felt he had tainted this pure woman. As an angel and the most beautiful woman in heaven, There was no doubt that she had many people to try to seduce her, but then again, why couldn't they do it? There was no doubt it was all due to the sheer holy and pure presence she emitted. Moreover, he knew that most of the time, she had many followers to follow her, so even if one wanted to seduce her, it was impossible. Nevertheless, even if he was trembling due to the guilt that came from tainting such a pure woman, he didn't mind pulling her into the abyss with him. Still, this wasn't the time, and being in a hurry wasn't something that he loved to do, so he didn't lick her fingers like an accident again. Yet, why did she appear quite disappointed? Yet, there was no doubt their trip was enjoyable. Whether they were an angel or a devil, it didn't matter, as the beauty of the Mediterranean country was something that could be enjoyed by every race. Still, if there was trouble, Gabriel was too kind. As long as there was someone who was in need of help, or when they happened to meet a church in a small village, she would ask him to stop, which made him helpless. Yet, Gabriel smiled, since even if she knew she was a bit selfish, he followed her whims and didn't complain much, even helping her from time to time. Even if his expression said no, his body was honest. However, when they stopped in a certain city, Riser bought something. Camera. Riser aimed his camera at Gabriel and took a photo of her, which stunned her and made her unable to react properly. Why did you take my photo suddenly? Can I? It's okay, though. Sometimes, Riser thought that Gabriel was a little gullible, but at the same time, he also knew that she was quite crafty. But can we take a photo together? Gabriel suddenly asked. Do you want to take a photo together? Riser raised his brows. Can we? Gabriel looked at Riser with her usual gaze when she asked him to stop or ask him to help. It had somehow become her habit. Riser was speechless, but he didn't show his rejection. Ah, it's the Saintess. Saintess. Suddenly, a young boy and a young girl approached them excitedly. Hey, wait a moment. Don't suddenly run. As the two children ran in the direction of Riser and Gabriel, a beautiful woman in her early 40s with silver hair also followed, lightly chiding her children for being rude. However, Gabriel was kind and welcomed them with a smile, talking with them for a moment before she suddenly asked, I am sorry, but can you help us take a picture? Picture. The beautiful mother stared at Gabriel, then looked at Riser. Frankly, she wondered what the relationship was between the two, but she agreed. Okay. Can we take a picture too? Mom, take a photo with us too. However, as Gabriel made such a request, the two children also wished to take a picture with her. Don't trouble the Saintess, you two. The mother of two felt helpless for her two young children. Then, how about we take a picture together? Riser suddenly said. Really? 2x? Yes. Riser nodded. As Riser was handsome, they also wished for him to join. Still, this brought a smile to Gabriel, as it was her first time seeing Riser take the initiative to offer kindness. She thought that the days they spent together had made him kinder. Mom, come on. Yes, come on, Mom. The mother of two was helpless and apologized to Riser. I am sorry for my two children. It's okay. It will be a good memory for us. While Riser didn't smile, his tone was gentle. Thank you. The mother of two smiled and thought that even if Riser's expression was a little cold, his eyes showed kindness, showing how gentle he was. Still, as they had decided to take a photo together, suddenly, a kind shop owner nearby took the initiative to help them take their photo. Say cheese. Cheese. Whether it was Gabriel, the two children, the mother of the two, or Riser showed a kind smile in this photo. Their smiles were extremely gentle and happy, yet they didn't realize one person was under the guise. While a certain someone's smile appeared warm and gentle like the sunshine, making anyone smitten at his charm, deep in his heart, it was frightfully twisted and hideous. I've won. He thought as he smiled in the direction of the camera. Don't be weirded out by his actions, as everything is about to unfold soon. Chapter 179. Extremely Evil. After that photo, Riser and Gabriel took a photo together before they said goodbye to everyone and continued their trip. They spent many days together, and as expected, Gabriel started to feel a different feeling toward him as she stared at the photo that they had taken in the previous town. The two of them stood side by side, closely. She showed a bright and gentle smile in the photo. Meanwhile, while he might not smile, his expression was relaxed when he was by her side. There was no doubt. No one would doubt that they were a pair of lovers when they saw this photo. Yet Gabriel, who was clueless about love, was ignorant about this feeling, and she just felt that it was warm by his side. It was her first time to feel this feeling. Nevertheless, she could feel that even if she wished to be closer, he refrained from getting close to her, which made her curious about him, as many people wished to be as close as possible when they were near her presence. It was also due to this he was different. Yet, as they started this trip, Gabriel forgot about one thing. When there was a beginning, there was an end. When they reached Palermo and ate caponata as they watched the Tyrrhenian Sea, Riser said, "It's time for me to go back." Gabriel was stunned and almost dropped her food. She didn't know what to say at that moment as it was so natural to have him by her side, but then he told her that he was going to leave. She should have expected this, yet she didn't expect that his existence would grow so significant within her heart. Yet it was also due to this that the thought of him leaving disappointed her so much. Nevertheless, she asked, "Can you stay a little longer? Do you want me to stay?" Riser asked, but at the same time, he felt this woman was too easy. Frankly, the time they spent together wasn't that long, and he had never touched her, except for licking her fingers that time. He also held her hand when something suddenly attracted her attention and caused her to move to a random destination. Riser knew it was quite rude, but he felt like he was holding a big, obedient dog for some reason. Gabriel nodded eagerly, thinking that he would stay for a little longer. But, sorry, I can't. Riser apologized. "I have someone waiting for me." "Then, can I follow you?" Gabriel suddenly said something outrageous. "You want to follow me?" Riser wondered whether his charm was so amazing that he could even seduce one of the four seraphs. "Can I?" Gabriel thought that it would be fun to follow him again. "You can't." Riser shook his head. "Why?" Gabriel was unable to accept his response. "Because you are an angel." Riser looked at Gabriel with an obvious expression. "Do you think it is possible for an angel to go to the underworld? Do you want to become a fallen angel?" Gabriel wanted to say something, but no words came out. Becoming a fallen angel, that thought had never crossed her mind at all, as her purpose in life was to serve God, keep heaven, and also guide the humans who followed Christianity. Those were her beliefs, and probably it wouldn't change even after the end of the world, but her meeting with him changed everything. It was the first time in her life that she wished for something else. She wished to be on his side. Yet, when she was about to give him an answer, agreeing as she wished to be by his side, he stopped her. "Don't." "Why?" She looked at him in doubt as she didn't realize she had raised her voice. "I am not someone that is worthy for you to follow." Frankly, Gabriel was beautiful, and there was no doubt he had her by his side, but then again, he could imagine that heaven would target him when he tainted her and made her fall, which was definitely something he wanted to avoid. Moreover, you do this due to the impulse. You are not calm, and I don't want you to regret this decision. I won't regret this. I want to follow you. Gabriel clearly showed that she had thought about this matter thoroughly. She was going to follow him, and that was what she was going to do. Moreover, she still wanted to learn the feeling that she had just learned. The feeling made her heart warm and fluffy, yet made her heart beat, and it made her chest stuffy whenever they were together. Nevertheless, right now, those feelings have disappeared, and what is left is anxiety, pain, and desperation. Probably it was better for her not to learn this feeling, especially when she learned this feeling with such a sinful, twisted man, yet everything was too late. Bring her with you, and make her into a fallen angel. It had been a while since he saw the system, but then again, he had made his decision, and instead of a fallen angel, he wanted her to stay as an angel as he had never done it with an angel. That seems to be a good idea. Riser. Gabriel. His voice was gentle and soothing yet carried a hint of helplessness as he gently caressed her hair. However, Gabriel couldn't look away as it might be the first time for him to show such an expression. "I am sorry, but I really can't bring you with me. Moreover, I am married." Married. Gabriel widened her eyes as she had never expected such an answer. "You are lying, right?" She thought he was lying as he didn't want her to follow him. "I am not." Riser was helpless. "Moreover, it isn't like we can't meet again, but depending on the result of the meeting, we might have a war or a peace. If it's a war, then I can't say much, but if we have peace, we might be able to meet again. By then, you should be able to calm yourselves down and not make such a hasty decision. Lastly, I am just a man that you met for a few days. Do you think it is worth it to throw away your everything for a good-for-nothing like me? No, you are not good for nothing." She refuted him with tears. Riser fell in silence and thought that this woman was too pure, but at the same time, he also had never lied or had any bad intentions toward her as he had just come to complete his goal. However, if you decide to become a fallen angel, then the result of the meeting of the three factions might end up in a war. Are you okay with that? Do you want to see me dead? Gabriel's expression was full of pain. Frankly, Riser had to say a woman was just irrational as he couldn't understand how they could throw everything for a feeling. Yet, it surprised him that there wasn't even a tinge of darkness on her wings. Was her feeling so pure? Riser felt guilty somehow, but it was impossible for him to bring Gabriel, and as he had said before, he wasn't someone worthy to follow, especially when he knew how twisted he was. Our meeting might be short, but I will treasure those memories. See you again. Riser was no longer talking and walked away, ready to leave by teleportation. Gabriel hurriedly tried to catch him, but her hand stopped, unable to move forward when she thought how many were going to die due to her selfish action. So she didn't stop him and just watched him with tears running down her cheeks as she clutched to their photo that they took during the sunset on the Tyrrhenian Sea. In the photo, their expression was so natural as they stood next to each other. It was as if they were fated together, yet in the end, they needed to part. If they had to part, and for her to feel this painful feeling, it might probably be better if they didn't meet. But she knew if they didn't meet, she wouldn't learn this feeling, so she was glad to meet him. However, at the same time, she was determined. Gabriel knew that peace between the three factions was necessary so she could meet him again. Nevertheless, like Gabriel, who had determined to make peace between the three factions, Riser was determined to gain his peace, and due to that, he was going to do something that was extremely evil. Chapter 180. Peaceful Future. Don't leave too long, Vala. Azazel couldn't help but remind Vala, who was about to leave the house. I know. You don't need to remind me. I am not a child that you need to keep watch out for. Valley didn't turn and just walked away. If you're not a child, then don't make me worry all the time. Watching Vala, who had left, Azazel let out a helpless sigh, but he was also powerless as he knew that Valley didn't have a place anymore on the Gregory. Nevertheless, he knew that he couldn't help Vala since the Gregory wasn't owned by the fallen angels anymore. Moreover, with what had happened before, everyone's hatred toward Vala became so intense. Azazel didn't have a doubt. The moment Vala entered the Gregory, Valley would be attacked by everyone due to the hatred they had. They might not be able to defeat Riser, but Vala? They believed that they could defeat him. Moreover, with what had happened previously, everyone could only put their hatred on Vala, which was something inevitable since they couldn't do anything against Riser. Watching Vala, who no longer had a place that could be called a home, Azazel felt ache, sad, and angry, but he could do nothing. His power was too weak to do anything against Riser or to change everything that happened to Valley. Azazel knew that it was wrong as fighting Riser was nothing but a meaningless struggle, but he thought of Valley as his own child, as he had been taking care of him since his childhood. Moreover, everything was due to Vala's arrogance, so it was something that Vala brought by himself, which was something he was helpless about. Nevertheless, the feeling of love made him biased in his decision. Among the fallen angels, everyone wanted to K*LL Vala by using Azazel's trust, but Azazel quickly stopped them and rejected this plan by saying Vala's existence was still necessary, especially for the meeting of the three factions. Before the meeting started, Azazel, Surzek, and Michael, the leaders of the three factions, had met each other and talked about their plan to create peace between the three. The first was to show the world about the danger of the Cows Brigade. By showing the danger that came from this organization, everyone would unite together regardless of their hatred. Against an external enemy that would endanger them, they needed to work together against this danger. The second was to show hope. The hope they had chosen was Issei Hayadu. As the holder of the boosted gear, Issei was going to become everyone's hope and a hero for everyone when they were terrorized by the Cows Brigade. Nevertheless, with Issei's current power, it was impossible for Issei to fight against the Cows Brigade. It was due to this, Vala's existence was necessary as Valley would become existence to make Issei shine. What about the members of the Cows Brigade that attacked them? Azazel was going to defeat the leader of the Cows Brigade that came for the attack with the help of the others. Then, when all the members of the Cows Brigade were defeated, Valley would come out, telling everyone that he was going to join the Cows Brigade, and by then, they would send Issei out to fight against Vala, creating an image where Vala had betrayed them and became a spy within this terrorist organization. By then, everything will be set in place. Issei would become a hero who would solve all the trouble and existence that connected the three factions. Meanwhile, Vala became a spy who would inform them about the Cows Brigade, telling them what this organization planned to do, minimizing the damage caused by the Cows Brigade. Naturally, this plan wasn't perfect, as Issei's power was still doubtful, especially when he hadn't shown his worth. Moreover, was the Cows Brigade as weak as they imagined it to be? Nevertheless, the existence of the Cows Brigade had become an oil to smooth the relationship between the three factions, bringing peace to everyone. If there was a variable factor, it would be Riser. The only fortunate thing was that as long as no one provoked Riser, everything would be all right. Yet, some people who joined this meeting had provoked Riser, which was something that Azazel was worried about. However, Azazel knew that Riser supported this peace, and Riser also didn't plan to join this meeting. So everything should be okay, right? Still, Azazel wondered why he felt his heart palpitate as if a storm was about to come. Well, there is Surzek. Azazel knew how strong Surzek was, and it should be impossible for something to happen with Surzek around, considering Surzek was the strongest devil that had ever been born in this world. With that optimism, Azazel continued to review all the plans again, as a mistake would lead to doom. Nevertheless, Azazel had one doubt. Was Vala's isolation by Gregory due to an accident, or was it Riser's plan? Was that attack on the headquarters of Gregory something that was deliberately done by Riser to make Valley isolated from everyone? Or did he just wish to conquer the Gregory? Azazel felt dread, but he shook his head, especially when he thought about Riser's expression at that time. Yet, he shook his head as he thought that everything was just a coincidence. Nevertheless, Valley, who had left the house, walked under the gloomy night. His expression was expressionless, making it clear to anyone that his mood was far from good. That bastard. Valley was full of hatred and anger when he thought about what had happened to Gregory. While he felt embarrassed to admit it, Gregory was like a home for him, especially when they had taken care of him from childhood when he had no one whom he could rely upon. Yet that home was no longer there, and except for Azazel, everyone was determined to K*LL him in order to please Riser. What a coward. Vala felt that Riser was a coward for charging into the headquarters of Gregory instead of fighting him directly. Valley. Albion could feel the frustration in Vala's heart, but there was nothing that he could do except stay by his side. I am okay, Albion. I am not so weak that I will go down, and I still need to defeat him. Yes, he was going to defeat Riser. Vala might have lost one of his arms, but even so, he wasn't going to give up. He was going to get stronger and erase Riser from this world, as Riser's existence was too dangerous. He didn't want to lose anyone important in his life anymore, so he was going to erase Riser from this world even if he might become the enemy of Seraphal Leviathan, the Citri House, and also the Phenex House. Vala swore in the name of Lucifer and the White Dragon Emperor. But be careful, Valley. You won't know what he is planning, Albion advised. After all, their opponent was a devil, an evil being that was known for being wicked. Riser was different from the proud dragon who would fight like a courageous warrior and definitely would use a despicable method. Albion wished for Vala to be careful against such an opponent. I know. Valley. However, their conversation suddenly stopped as they could feel they were surrounded by a barrier. I know. Vala's expression suddenly became solemn, and his entire body was tense as he prepared for the battle. As a descendant of Lucifer and the White Dragon Emperor, he had never feared a challenge. Instead, he welcomed them, fought them, and showed how powerless they were against his might. Yet, it's been a while, whatever Kuin. At the time, whether it was Valley or Albion, they felt they were shrouded in terror. The figure who had given them a nightmare came in front of them, so suddenly without them even being prepared. Yet even if Vala felt a terror against this figure, the fury in his heart was greater and unstoppable. It was like a volcanic eruption that couldn't be stopped. Riser. Valley was going to K*LL this bastard. Nevertheless, Riser smiled as he thought about his peaceful future.